The bridge of the Endeavour hummed with the usual sounds of deep space travel. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair, reviewing supply reports from their last station visit. It was routine work, the kind that filled most days in the void between stars. Outside the windows, space looked like black velvet scattered with diamonds. Lieutenant Amy Carter sat at her communications station, monitoring the usual chatter that filled the galactic networks. Trade ships reporting their positions, weather warnings from colonies, the endless background noise of civilization spread across thousands of worlds. She had been doing this job for 3 years now, and most days nothing interesting happened. Then her screen flashed red. Amy leaned forward, her fingers flying across the controls. The signal was weak, breaking up badly, but it was definitely a distress call. She boosted the gain and listened carefully. What she heard made her blood run cold. "This is Kelrath 7 mining colony. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. Kreth ships in orbit. They are landing troops. We have 300 civilians here, including children. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need help. The Kreth are taking prisoners. They are killing anyone who resists. Please help us." The message cut off into static, then repeated. Amy checked the timestamp. The message was 2 days old. "Captain," Amy said, her voice tight, "you need to hear this." Jake crossed the bridge in 4 quick steps. Amy played the message for him. His jaw tightened as he listened. When it finished, he asked the question Amy had been dreading. "What's the council response?" Amy pulled up the records. Her stomach twisted as she read them. "Nothing, sir. The distress call was logged and forwarded to the council military command. They filed it under disputed territory and marked it as non-priority." "Non-priority," Jake repeated, his voice flat. 300 civilians being attacked by slavers, and it's non-priority." "The Velnari don't have much political power, sir," Amy said quietly. "And Kelrath 7 is in a region the Kreth claim as theirs. The council doesn't want to provoke a conflict." Jake stood silent for a long moment, staring at the star map on the main screen. Amy knew what he was thinking. The Velnari were good people. When humanity first joined the council 30 years ago, most alien species had treated them like dangerous primitives. Humans came from Earth, a death world with heavy gravity, violent weather, and deadly predators. Most council species came from gentler worlds and thought humans were barely civilized. But not the Velnari. They had welcomed human traders, shared their technology freely, and treated Earth's people with respect. Jake himself had visited Kelrath 7 a year ago. He remembered Elder Velkara showing him around the colony, introducing him to her people, letting human children play with Velnari hatchlings. "Get me Admiral Harper," Jake said. "Priority channel, encryption level 5. Amy's fingers moved fast. Within minutes, the face of Admiral Ben Harper appeared on the screen. Harper was in his 60s, with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. He commanded Earth's deep space forces from a station on the edge of human territory. "Captain Morrison?" Harper said. "This is unexpected. What's wrong?" Jake didn't waste time. He explained the situation quickly, playing the distress call for the Admiral. Harper's expression grew darker with every word. "The council is doing nothing?" Harper asked. "They marked it non-priority 2 days ago, sir. As far as I can tell, they have no plans to respond at all." Harper was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "What are you thinking, Captain?" "I'm thinking the Velnari helped us when we needed friends, sir. I'm thinking they're dying right now while the council debates politics, and I'm thinking we should do something about it." "The council will go crazy if we intervene," Harper said, but there was no disagreement in his voice, only calculation. "Yes, sir. They will." Harper smiled then. A cold smile that didn't reach his eyes. "How fast can you get to Kelrath 7? 4 days at maximum burn, sir. But the Endeavour alone won't be enough. The Kreth have at least 6 warships there, probably more." "You won't be alone, Captain. Give me 6 hours. I'm authorizing deployment of the 3rd Fleet. Full battle group, 12 ships. I'll command personally from the Valiant. Amy felt her heart race. The 3rd Fleet was Earth's secret weapon, built in hidden shipyards beyond Council space. While the Council thought humanity had only a small defense force, Earth had been building a real military. Ships designed for war, crewed by people from a planet where survival meant being tough. Sir, the Council will definitely expel us for this, Jake said. Maybe, Harper agreed. But I didn't join Earth's military to abandon people who need help. The Velnari called for aid. We're going to answer. Assemble your crew, Captain. Set course for the rally point at marker 77 Alpha. The fleet will meet you there in 5 hours. Understood, sir. Thank you. Harper's expression softened slightly. Don't thank me yet, Jake. This is going to start something big. Once we do this, there's no going back. Earth will be making a statement to the entire galaxy. What statement is that, sir? That we don't leave our friends to die, that we don't bow to bullies, and that being from a death world means we're not afraid to fight when it matters. Harper paused. Make sure your crew understands what we're doing. This is volunteer only. Anyone who doesn't want to risk their career can transfer off at the rally point. They'll all volunteer, sir. I guarantee it. I believe you. Harper out. The screen went dark. Jake turned to face his bridge crew. They had all heard the conversation. Amy waited to see what their captain would say. You heard the Admiral, Jake said. We're going to war to save the Velnari colony. This will probably end our careers. The Council will call us criminals. Some alien governments will call us worse. But 300 people are dying while bureaucrats argue about politics, and I won't accept that. Neither will Admiral Harper. He looked around the bridge, meeting each person's eyes. This is your choice. Anyone who wants to transfer off, no judgment, no questions asked. We hit the rally point in 4 hours. Decide before then. Amy stood up from her station. I'm in, Captain. The Velnari were good to us. Time to return the favor. Around the bridge, other crew members nodded or spoke their agreement. Jake felt pride swell in his chest. This was why he loved serving with humans. They understood loyalty. They understood that some things mattered more than politics or careers. All right then, Jake said. Nav, set course for rally point 77 Alpha, maximum speed. Engineering, I want every reactor pushed to the limit. We're not running late to this fight. Communications, send a message to all crew. Tell them what's happening and give them the option to transfer. Then start broadcasting on all frequencies that the Endeavor is en route to Kelrath 7. I want every ship in the sector to know humans are coming. Sir, Amy said hesitantly, that will warn the Kreth we're coming. Jake smiled grimly. Good. Let them worry. Let them wonder what 12 human warships are going to do when we arrive. And let the Velnari know they're not alone anymore. Broadcast it wide, Lieutenant. Make sure everyone hears. As the Endeavor's engines burned hot, pushing the ship faster than safety regulations allowed, Amy sent the message out across the stars. It was simple and direct, just like Captain Morrison wanted. The rally point floated in empty space between stars, far from any planet or station. One by one, human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and took their positions. The Endeavor arrived first, followed quickly by the massive battleship Valiant, Admiral Harper's flagship. Jake watched through his windows as more ships appeared. The cruiser Defiant, commanded by the aggressive commander Megan Torres. The destroyer Relentless under Captain Nicole Hayes, known for her precise tactical mind. Each ship that arrived made the formation stronger, more dangerous. On the Valiant's bridge, Admiral Harper stood with his senior officers. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Mitchell, his tactical officer, was updating the battle plans. Ryan was young for his rank, only 32, but he had a gift for seeing patterns in chaos. He could predict what enemies would do before they did it. The Kreth have 6 warships in orbit around Kelrath 7, Ryan said, highlighting them on the tactical display. Standard Kreth cruiser class. Heavy armor, but slow to maneuver. They rely on boarding tactics more than long-range weapons. Mistake, said Commander Kate Sullivan, the fleet's chief engineer. Kate was shorter than most humans, barely 5 feet tall, but she was brilliant. She had designed the reactor systems that made human ships faster and more powerful than anything the Council had. Our railguns will tear through their armor before they get close enough to board. Harper nodded. What about ground forces? Estimates say 200 Kreth soldiers on the surface, Ryan replied. They've taken over the main colony buildings and are using the Velnari as hostages, standard slaver tactics. They know most Council species won't risk civilian casualties. They don't know humans very well, do they? Harper said quietly. A message came through from the Endeavor. Jake Morrison's face appeared on screen. Admiral, all ships have reported in. 12 warships, full crew, everyone volunteered. We're ready when you are. Good, Harper said, but we have one more thing to handle first. As if on cue, another ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. But this one wasn't human. It was an Orinthi diplomatic vessel, sleek and silver, designed for speed and communication rather than fighting. The Orinthi were one of the most powerful species in the Council, and they clearly weren't happy. Incoming transmission from Ambassador Thelnax, the communications officer reported. Put him on, Harper ordered. The screen filled with the image of an Orinthi. They were tall and thin, with 4 arms and skin that changed colors with their emotions. Right now, Thelnax's skin was flashing red and orange, which meant anger. Admiral Harper, the ambassador said, his voice sharp, I am here on behalf of the Galactic Council. You are ordered to stand down immediately. Your fleet is to return to Earth space and take no further action regarding the Kelrath 7 situation. Ambassador, Harper replied calmly, with all respect, we received a distress call from a colony under attack. We're responding to that call. Kelrath 7 is in disputed territory, Thelnax insisted. The Kreth claim that region. Council law prohibits military intervention in disputed zones without full Council approval. You know this. I know the Council received the same distress call we did 2 days ago. I know you filed it as non-priority and decided to do nothing. I know 300 civilians are being murdered and enslaved while you debate politics. Thelnax's skin flashed darker red. The Council must consider the larger implications. Military action against the Kreth Dominion could start a war that kills billions. We cannot make such decisions hastily. 2 days isn't hasty, Ambassador. It's abandonment. This is not your decision to make, Thelnax said. Earth is a junior member of the Council. You have no authority to launch military operations without approval. If you proceed with this action, there will be severe consequences. Humanity could be expelled from the Council. Trade sanctions could be imposed. Your entire species could be isolated. Harper was quiet for a moment. On the Valiant's bridge, his officers waited to see what he would say. Finally, Harper spoke, and his voice was cold as ice. Ambassador, let me be clear. The Velnari called for help. They asked the galaxy to save them from slavers and murderers. The Council heard that call and did nothing. Earth heard that call and we're answering it. You can threaten us with expulsion, sanctions, isolation, whatever you want. We're still going. This is madness, Thelnax protested. You're risking everything for one small colony, for insects that have no real power or value in galactic politics. The Velnari are our friends, Harper said. And we don't measure the value of lives by political power. Maybe that's the difference between you and us. You are from a death world, Admiral. Your species is violent and irrational. This proves the Council was right to limit your expansion. Harper smiled then, but it wasn't a friendly smile. You're right about one thing, Ambassador. We are from a death world. Earth taught us to be tough. It taught us to fight. It taught us to survive things that would kill your people, And it taught us something else, too. It taught us loyalty. It taught us that you protect the weak, not exploit them. That you stand up to bullies, not bow to them. He leaned forward, his eyes hard. So yes, we're from a death world, and we're about to show the Kreth Dominion exactly what that means. Thelnax's skin turned almost black with rage. You are making a terrible mistake. The Council will remember this. Good, Harper said. Make sure they remember that when innocent people called for help, Earth answered. Make sure they remember that humans keep their promises. And make sure they remember that we're not afraid of you. He cut the transmission. The ambassador's ship hung in space for a moment, then jumped away, presumably to report back to the Council. Ryan Mitchell whistled softly. Well, that's it then. We just told the Council to go to hell. We told them the truth, Kate Sullivan said. If they don't like it, that's their problem. Harper turned to his crew. I want everyone to understand what we're doing. This isn't just a rescue mission anymore. This is Earth making a statement to the entire galaxy. We're saying that we won't abandon our friends. We're saying that we won't tolerate slavery or murder just because it's politically convenient. And we're saying that anyone who hurts innocent people will answer to us. He paused, looking around the bridge. This will change everything. After today, the galaxy will never look at humanity the same way. Some species will hate us for this, some will fear us, but some, the ones who are suffering under species like the Kreth, will have hope for the first time in generations. Sir, the communications officer called out, we're receiving a message from Earth. It's the President. Harper took the call. President Carmen Lopez appeared on screen. She looked tired but determined. Admiral, she said, I've been informed of the Council's ultimatum. I want you to know that you have Earth's full support. The whole planet is watching. Whatever happens out there, we're behind you. Thank you, Madam President. Ben, she said, using his first name, bring our people home safe, and bring those Velnari home too. We will, Harper promised. After the call ended, Harper activated the fleet-wide channel. Every ship could hear him now, thousands of crew members listening to their admiral. All ships, this is Harper. In 20 minutes, we jump to Kelrath 7. When we arrive, we will be facing 6 Kreth warships and 200 ground troops. They are holding 300 Velnari civilians hostage. Our mission is simple. Destroy the Kreth fleet. Rescue the hostages. Show the galaxy what happens when you hurt Earth's friends. He paused, then continued. The Kreth think we're soft because we're new to the galactic community. They think we'll back down if they threaten us. They're about to learn they're wrong. We're from Earth. We survived ice ages and plagues. We fought wars that covered continents. We climbed out of gravity wells that would crush most species. We're Deathworlders, and it's time the galaxy remembered what that means. On the Endeavor, Jake Morrison listened to the Admiral's speech and felt his crew's mood shift. Fear turned to determination. Worry turned to anger. They were ready. Dr. Lisa Chen, the xenobiologist, stood in the ship's medical bay preparing for casualties. She had studied the Velnari for years, knew their biology, understood their culture. The thought of them being enslaved made her sick. We're going to save them, said Lieutenant Kevin Price, the ship's medical officer. The Admiral won't let them down. I know, Lisa said. I just hope we're not too late. On the Valiant, Ryan Mitchell finished the final tactical calculations. He had wargamed this battle a dozen times in the last few hours. Each time, the humans won, but casualties varied. The key was speed and aggression. Hit the Kreth hard and fast. Don't give them time to use the hostages as leverage. Kate Sullivan checked the reactor outputs one last time. Every ship was running at maximum power. Human engineering pushed limits that made Council scientists nervous. But that was the advantage of being from a harsh world. Humans built things to survive the worst conditions imaginable. Harper checked his watch. Time to go. All ships, final check. Report status. The Kreth warship destroyer of weakness hung in orbit above Kelrath 7, its massive hull dark against the planet's surface. Inside the command center, Warlord Grexith studied reports from the surface with satisfaction. The Velnari colony was nearly broken. 50 of the insects had been loaded onto slave transports already. The rest would follow soon. "Warlord," his sensor operator called out. "Detecting multiple faster-than-light signatures. Ships approaching." Grexith barely looked up. Probably Council patrol ships, coming to file a formal complaint and then leave. The Council never actually did anything. They were weak, concerned only with comfort and trade. "How many ships?" he asked. 12 contacts, Warlord. They're big. Dropping out of faster-than-light now." That got Grexith's attention. 12 ships was unusual. He moved to the tactical display and watched as the contacts resolved into clear images. What he saw made no sense. The ships were blocky and brutal, covered in armor plating and bristling with weapons. They looked nothing like the elegant council vessels with their smooth curves and decorative elements. These were warships, built for one purpose only, and they were moving fast, very fast. "Identify those vessels," Grexith ordered. His operator worked frantically. "Warlord, database identifies them as human design. They're from Earth." "Earth?" Grexith felt confusion. Humans were those primitive creatures from the Deathworld, barely accepted into the Council a few decades ago. They were supposed to be weak, constrained by Council restrictions. "What are humans doing here?" "Unknown, Warlord. They're not transmitting. They're just advancing toward us in combat formation." Grexith felt the first stirring of unease. 12 ships was more than he had. But surely these were just humans, soft creatures pretending to be warriors. The Kreth Dominion had conquered 100 worlds. They would not be intimidated by Deathworld savages. "All ships, battle stations, shields to maximum. Prepare to teach these humans their place." On the Valiant, Admiral Harper watched the Kreth fleet scramble to respond. They were slow, confused. Good. That would make this easier. "All ships, weapons free," Harper ordered. "Target their engines and weapon systems first. I want them disabled, not destroyed. We'll need prisoners to send a message." "Sir," Ryan Mitchell said from his tactical station. "The Kreth are forming a defensive wall. They're trying to protect their troop transports." "Then we'll go through them," Harper said. "Morrison, take Endeavor and 3 destroyers around their left flank. Torres, you and Defiant go right. They want to form a wall. We'll hit them from 3 directions at once." Across the fleet, captains acknowledged their orders. The human formation split smoothly, ships moving with precision that surprised the watching Kreth. Deathworlders were supposed to be crude and uncoordinated. The Kreth opened fire first, their plasma cannons launching brilliant bolts of superheated gas across the void. The shots were powerful but slow, designed to overwhelm shields through sustained fire. They never reached the human ships. Earth's point defense systems, developed through centuries of shooting down missiles and debris in their own chaotic solar system, intercepted every plasma bolt. Lasers and railgun fire destroyed the incoming shots with casual efficiency. Then the humans returned fire, and the Kreth learned what real weapons looked like. The Valiant's main railgun fired a tungsten rod the size of a telephone pole at 3% of light speed. It crossed the distance to the nearest Kreth ship in less than a second. The Kreth shields, designed to stop plasma and energy weapons, did absolutely nothing against a physical projectile moving that fast. The rod punched through the shield, through the armor, through the entire ship, and out the other side. Atmosphere vented into space. Internal explosions rippled through the vessel. Within 30 seconds, the Kreth cruiser was a dead hulk, tumbling slowly through space. "One down," Ryan reported calmly. The other Kreth ships panicked and broke formation. That was exactly what Harper wanted. A scattered enemy was a vulnerable enemy. "All ships engage at will," Harper ordered. The battle became a massacre. Commander Megan Torres on the Defiant led her ship straight into the Kreth formation, her shields absorbing fire that would have destroyed any Council vessel. But human shields were different, powered by reactors that generated energy outputs considered insane by galactic standards. Only a species from a high-gravity world would build engines that powerful. Megan's gunners fired with precision, disabling Kreth ships one after another. Her ship took hits that scorched her hull and overwhelmed sections of her shields, but she kept pressing forward, kept firing, kept advancing. "That's right," Megan muttered, watching another Kreth ship go dark. "Come to Mama." On the Relentless, Captain Nicole Hayes coordinated her destroyer squadron with mathematical precision. While the bigger ships drew Kreth attention, her smaller vessels darted in and out, targeting critical systems with surgical strikes. Engines exploded. Weapon batteries went offline. The Kreth fleet was being taken apart piece by piece. 2 Kreth ships tried to run, jumping their faster-than-light drives to escape. Nicole was already in position, having predicted their retreat vector. Her ships blocked their path, weapons locked. Kreth vessels. "This is Captain Hayes of Earth's Relentless. Power down your weapons and surrender. You will not be harmed if you comply." The Kreth commander made a choice. He fired. Nicole's return fire was instant and overwhelming. Her railguns shredded the Kreth ship's engines, leaving it drifting and helpless. The second ship, seeing its companion disabled so quickly, powered down its weapons and sent a surrender signal. "Wise choice," Nicole said quietly. Back at the main battle, Warlord Grexith realized his fleet was dying. 4 ships destroyed or disabled in less than an hour. These humans fought like nothing he had ever seen. They were fast, aggressive, and their weapons were devastating. "All remaining ships, close formation," he ordered desperately. "Prepare for boarding action. If we can capture one of their ships, we can turn this around." It was what Kreth did best. Their soldiers were large, powerful, and deadly in close combat. Every species they had fought feared Kreth boarding parties. The humans charged straight at them. "Sir," Ryan said to Harper, 3 Kreth ships are moving to boarding range. They're preparing to launch assault pods." Harper smiled coldly. "Let them come. I want them to try boarding our ships. I want them to learn what happens when you fight humans hand-to-hand." The Kreth assault pods launched, small armored capsules designed to attach to enemy hulls and cut through. Dozens of them swarmed toward the Endeavor, which had positioned itself as an inviting target. Jake Morrison watched them come. "All Marine units, prepare to repel boarders. Show them what Earth infantry can do." The pods attached to the Endeavor's hull with magnetic clamps. Cutting torches began burning through the outer armor. In the ship's corridors, human Marines took their positions. Sergeant Dan Cole checked his rifle one last time. He was a big man, even by human standards, over 6 feet tall and heavily muscled. He had grown up on Earth, in the mountains of Colorado, climbing rocks and hunting elk. Training in Earth's gravity meant he was stronger and faster than most aliens could imagine. "Remember," Dan told his squad, "these Kreth are tough, but they're used to fighting species from light-gravity worlds. They've never fought anyone from a death world before. Use that. Move fast, hit hard, don't give them time to think." The first breach opened with a screech of tearing metal. Kreth warriors poured through, each one over 7 feet tall, covered in thick scales, armed with plasma rifles and blade weapons. They never stood a chance. The humans moved like predators, like the persistence hunters their ancestors had been on Earth's plains. They didn't stand and trade fire like civilized council species. They dodged, rolled, used cover, closed distance with terrifying speed. Dan's first burst caught a Kreth warrior in the throat. The alien went down, choking. His second burst took out another. His squad moved like they had trained together for years, because they had. Earth's military didn't just teach tactics. They taught violence, controlled and directed but fundamentally savage. The Kreth tried to adapt, tried to use their superior strength, but humans were stronger than they expected. Millions of years evolving in Earth's crushing gravity had made human muscles dense and powerful. When a Kreth warrior tried to grapple with a human marine, he found himself outmatched. One Kreth made it past the initial defense line, charging at Dan with a blade weapon raised. Dan didn't retreat. He stepped into the attack, deflected the blade with his armored forearm, and put 3 rounds through the Kreth's skull at point-blank range. The boarding action lasted 12 minutes. Every Kreth warrior who entered the endeavor was killed or captured. Not a single human marine died. Several were injured, but they kept fighting through pain that would have incapacitated most species. On the Valiant, reports came in from other ships that had been boarded. Same results everywhere. The Kreth had walked into a meat grinder. "Sir," Ryan said, his voice showing a hint of satisfaction. "All Kreth boarding parties neutralized. They attempted to board 6 of our ships. Total Kreth casualties, 230 soldiers. Our casualties, 15 wounded, 0 killed." Harper nodded. The Kreth had a reputation for boarding actions. Had. Update the tactical database. Mark Kreth boarding tactics as ineffective against human vessels. In orbit around Kelrath 7, the last intact Kreth warship broadcast a surrender signal. Warlord Grexith had watched his entire fleet destroyed or disabled in under 90 minutes. He had lost over 300 soldiers trying to board human ships. His invasion force on the planet's surface was cut off and surrounded. He had 1 card left to play. "Human fleet," Grexith transmitted. "I have 200 soldiers on the surface holding Velnari hostages. If you attack them, I will order the execution of all prisoners. Withdraw your fleet, and we can negotiate." Harper's response was immediate. "Warlord Grexith, you have 60 seconds to order your ground forces to release all hostages and surrender. After that, we will come down there and take them from you. And trust me, you don't want that." "You're bluffing," Grexith said. "No council species would risk civilian casualties." "We're not a council species," Harper replied. "We're humans, and we're very good at getting hostages back alive. Your soldiers, on the other hand, won't be so lucky. 59 seconds. On the surface of Kelrath 7, in the main colony building, the Kreth commander received Grexith's transmission. The warlord ordered him to hold the hostages at all costs. The commander gathered his soldiers in the central plaza, using the Velnari civilians as shields. He felt confident. The humans wouldn't dare attack with so many innocents at risk. He was wrong. Lieutenant Chris Palmer and his Special Forces team had been watching the colony from orbit. Chris was a specialist in hostage rescue, trained in techniques developed over centuries of Earth's messy history. He knew every trick, every tactic. "Teams 1 and 2, Chris said into his radio. "Move to infiltration points. Wait for my signal. This has to be perfect." His soldiers moved like shadows through the colony. They didn't use the doors or obvious routes. They went through ventilation shafts too small for Kreth to follow, climbed walls too smooth for Kreth claws to grip, approached from angles the Kreth never thought to guard. Because humans were persistence hunters, ambush predators, pack animals that worked together with frightening coordination. "All teams in position," Chris whispered. "On my mark. 3, 2, 1, execute." What happened next would become legendary in human military history. 23 minutes. That was how long it took Chris Palmer's team to rescue 300 hostages from 200 Kreth soldiers. The humans used stun grenades, tear gas, and precision fire. They moved through the colony like they owned it, eliminating threats with surgical accuracy. When Kreth soldiers tried to use hostages as shields, human snipers put rounds through impossibly small gaps, dropping enemies without touching civilians. When it was over, every Velnari was safe. 60 Kreth soldiers were dead, the rest captured. Elder Velkara stood among her rescued people, watching human soldiers in armor check on wounded Velnari, distribute medical supplies, comfort frightened children. These were the Deathworlders everyone feared. These were the savages from Earth. The medical bay of the Valiant was filled with activity. Dr. Lisa Chen moved from bed to bed, treating injured Velnari civilians who had been rescued from the colony. Most had minor injuries, cuts and bruises from rough handling by Kreth soldiers. A few were worse, suffering from malnutrition and trauma. "You're going to be fine," Lisa told a young Velnari, using her limited knowledge of their language. The child's compound eyes looked up at her with fear and confusion. Lisa smiled gently and offered a piece of sweet fruit from the ship's supplies. The child took it hesitantly, then ate quickly. Across the bay, human medics worked alongside Velnari healers who had been brought up from the surface. The cooperation was natural, easy. Despite their differences, both species understood the universal language of caring for the hurt and scared. Elder Velkara entered the medical bay, looking for Lisa. The doctor saw her and crossed over quickly. "Elder," Lisa said, "how are your people doing?" "Better, thanks to you," Velkara replied. Her voice was still shaky, but there was strength returning to it. "I wanted to thank you personally. What your people did today, it was beyond anything we could have hoped for." "You called for help," Lisa said simply. "We answered." "But why?" Velkara asked. "We have no political power. We cannot offer you anything valuable. The Council abandoned us for good reason from their perspective. We were not worth the risk. So why did humans come?" Lisa was quiet for a moment, thinking about how to answer. Finally, she said, "On Earth, we have a saying. We judge people not by what they do when it's easy, but by what they do when it's hard. Saving you was hard. It might cost us our place in the Council. But it was the right thing to do. That's all the reason we needed." Velkara's eyes glistened with emotion. "Your species is remarkable. The Council calls you dangerous Deathworlders, barely civilized. But I have never seen such kindness combined with such strength." Before Lisa could respond, an announcement echoed through the ship. "All senior staff to the bridge." Admiral's orders. Lisa excused herself and headed toward the bridge. When she arrived, she found Admiral Harper standing at the main display, studying something with intense focus. Captain Jake Morrison was there from the Endeavor, along with other ship commanders who had beamed over. Ryan Mitchell and Kate Sullivan stood nearby, looking serious. "What's happening?" Lisa asked quietly. Ryan answered. "The Kreth Dominion has responded to our attack. They're not happy." Harper turned to face the assembled officers. 3 hours ago, we destroyed or disabled a Kreth battle group and rescued the Velnari hostages. The Kreth have declared this an act of war. They're assembling a fleet to respond. Current intelligence suggests 37 warships, possibly more. A murmur ran through the group. 37 ships against 12. The odds were bad. "They're also demanding the Council take action against us," Harper continued. "Expel humanity, impose trade sanctions, restrict our movement. Some Council species are agreeing. They see this as proof that humans are too dangerous to be trusted." "What about the Velnari?" Jake asked. "Will the Council protect them now?" "No," Harper said flatly. "The Council is treating this as a human problem. They've washed their hands of Kelrath 7. We save the colony. We own it. That's their position." Commander Megan Torres spoke up from her position near the back. "So we're alone in this. Typical." "Not entirely," Kate Sullivan said. "We're getting communications from other species. Some are angry at us, but others are different. Smaller species, ones that don't have much voice in the Council. They're sending messages of support." Harper nodded. "Which brings me to why I called you all here. We need to send a message to the galaxy, not just about what happened here, but about what it means. We need to make clear that this wasn't a one-time thing. This is Earth's policy going forward." "What kind of message?" Jake asked. A public broadcast, Harper said, on all council frequencies. I'm going to explain why we did what we did and what we'll do if it happens again. Ryan looked concerned. Sir, that's going to make things worse with the council. They'll see it as a challenge to their authority. It is a challenge, Harper agreed. The council has been running the galaxy for thousands of years. They've created a system where the strong exploit the weak and everyone looks the other way. Well, Earth isn't going to look away. And we're going to make sure the entire galaxy knows it, he turned to his communications officer. Prepare for wideband transmission. All frequencies, maximum power. I want every ship, every station, every colony to receive this. And bring up Warlord Grexith. I want him in the frame too. 20 minutes later, the broadcast was ready. Cameras focused on Admiral Harper, standing on the Valiant's bridge. Behind him, visible through a security screen, was Warlord Grexith in restraints. The Kreth commander looked furious and humiliated. Harper checked with his crew one last time. Everyone ready? This is it. Once we send this, there's no taking it back. They nodded. Harper took a breath and signaled to begin. This is Admiral Ben Harper of Earth's Third Fleet, broadcasting to all Council species and independent systems. 3 days ago, the mining colony on Kelrath 7 sent a distress call. 300 civilians, including children, were under attack by the Kreth Dominion. They asked for help. They asked the galaxy to save them from slavers and murderers. Harper paused, letting that sink in. The Galactic Council received that distress call. They marked it as non-priority. They decided that because Kelrath 7 was in disputed space, and because the Velnari have no political power, it wasn't worth the risk of intervention. They left those civilians to die. His voice grew harder. Earth heard the same call, and we came. We came with 12 warships and thousands of soldiers. We destroyed or disabled the Kreth fleet. We rescued every hostage. Not one Velnari civilian was killed in the rescue operation. Every single person who called for help is now safe. He gestured to Grexith behind him. This is Warlord Grexith, commander of the Kreth forces. He thought the Velnari would be easy prey because no one would defend them. He was wrong. Earth defended them, and we will defend anyone else who calls for help. Harper leaned forward, his eyes intense. I'm addressing every species in this galaxy now. To those who profit from slavery and conquest, who prey on the weak because you think no one will stop you, hear this. Earth is watching. We are not bound by your politics. We are not afraid of your threats, and we will answer when innocents call for help. His voice dropped lower, more menacing. To the Kreth Dominion specifically, you have declared war on humanity because we stopped you from enslaving civilians. You are gathering a fleet to attack us. Come if you want. But understand what you're fighting. We are from Earth, a death world that tried to kill us for millions of years. We survived ice ages and plagues. We fought predators that could tear us apart. We climbed out of a gravity well that crushes most species. We are not like the council races you're used to fighting. We are Deathworlders. And we don't lose. He straightened up. To the smaller species, the ones who have suffered in silence while the council looked away, we say this. You are not alone anymore. Earth stands with you. If you call for help, we will answer. If you are threatened, we will defend you. We don't ask for anything in return except friendship and the chance to build a better galaxy together. Harper's expression softened slightly. The council will call this statement aggressive and dangerous. They'll say we're disrupting the peace, challenging the established order. They're right. We are challenging an order that allows slavery and mass murder. We are disrupting a peace that only exists for the powerful while the weak suffer. And we're not going to stop. He looked directly into the camera. This is Earth's promise to the galaxy. We will protect the innocent. We will fight the cruel. We will answer distress calls, even when it's dangerous, even when it costs us, because that's what civilization should mean, not politics and profit, but protecting those who can't protect themselves. The transmission ended. For a moment, the bridge was silent. Then Kate Sullivan spoke up. That was either the greatest speech in human history or the worst diplomatic disaster ever. Possibly both. Harper smiled slightly. Probably both. But it needed to be said. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the broadcast. Reactions varied wildly. In the Orinthi Council chambers, Ambassador Thelnax watched with growing horror. "They've gone completely insane," he said to his fellow counselors. "They just declared themselves the galaxy's police force. This cannot stand. We must act." But in a small Torvan settlement on the edge of explored space, beings who had been enslaved by the Kreth 2 generations ago watched the same broadcast with tears in their eyes. For the first time since their liberation, they had hope that justice might actually mean something. On a dozen worlds, in 100 colonies, species that had been victims of stronger powers looked at each other with the same thought. Maybe they didn't have to be victims anymore. Back on the Valiant, communications started flooding in. Some were angry condemnations from council species. Others were threats from the Kreth and their allies. But mixed in were different messages. Quiet thank yous from small colonies. Requests for help from species facing their own crises. Questions about whether Earth really meant what it said. "Sir," the communications officer said, "we're receiving a transmission from the Torvan government. They're requesting an official diplomatic meeting with Earth. They want to discuss an alliance." Harper raised an eyebrow. "The Torvan? Interesting. What else?" "Multiple distress calls from various colonies. 3 mining operations under pirate attack. 2 settlements facing pressure from larger powers. A refugee ship requesting escort through dangerous space. And, sir, we're getting at least 20 requests per hour for Earth to intervene in various conflicts." Jake Morrison spoke up. "We can't help everyone, Admiral. We don't have the ships or the resources." "I know," Harper said. "But we can help some. And we can show the galaxy that we meant what we said." He thought for a moment. "Contact Earth. Tell them we need more ships, more people. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right." Lisa Chen had been listening quietly. Now she spoke up. "Admiral, what about the Kreth fleet that's coming? We can't ignore that." "We're not going to ignore it," Harper said. "But we're not facing it alone either. Send a message to every ship captain in this fleet. Tell them we're staying here at Kelrath 7 until the Kreth arrive. We're making our stand here, protecting these people, and we're inviting anyone who believes in what we're doing to join us." The Kreth Armada dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kelrath 7 system, like a wall of steel and fire. 37 warships, the largest fleet the Kreth Dominion had assembled in a century. At their head was the massive dreadnought Eternal Conquest, commanded by Admiral Drexen, a Kreth warrior with over 50 years of combat experience. Drexen studied his tactical displays with satisfaction. The human fleet was still there, still in orbit around the planet. 12 ships against his 37. The Deathworlders had courage, he would give them that. But courage without wisdom was just another word for stupidity. "All ships, advance in formation Delta," Drexen ordered. "Weapons range in 20 minutes. Prepare to show these primitives the price of defying the Dominion." But as his fleet moved forward, his sensor operator called out in confusion. "Admiral, detecting additional ships entering the system. Multiple faster-than-light signatures." "Council reinforcements?" Drexen asked. That would be problematic, but not unexpected. The Council talked about neutrality, but they often intervened when it suited them. "Negative, sir. Ships are not Council military. They appear to be civilian vessels from multiple species. And, sir, they're taking up positions around the human fleet." Drexen pulled up the sensor data himself. What he saw made no sense. Velnari merchant ships, 20 of them, moving to join the human formation. Torvan vessels, including several ancient warships that should have been museum pieces. Even a few Orinthi independent traders, defying their own government's orders. "What are they doing?" Drexen muttered. On the Valiant, Admiral Harper watched the incoming ships with emotion he tried to hide. When he had sent out his invitation 3 days ago, he hadn't known if anyone would answer. The Velnari coming was expected. They owed Earth a debt. But the others, species from across the galaxy, they had come for different reasons. "Sir," Ryan Mitchell reported, "we now have 68 ships in our formation. 42 are human warships that arrived over the past 2 days. The rest are civilian volunteers from 8 different species." Kate Sullivan added, "The Torvin brought their old battleships. They're outdated by modern standards, but they still have weapons, and some of the Velnari merchants have been armed with human weapon systems. We've been busy." Harper nodded. Earth had indeed been busy. When news of his broadcast spread, every human ship captain in the sector had started moving toward Kelrath 7. The civilian government had authorized the deployment of nearly the entire Earth military. If the Kreth wanted a fight, they would get one. But it was the alien ships that meant the most. They represented something bigger than military power. They represented hope. "Incoming transmission from the lead Torvin ship," communications reported. Harper took the call. The face that appeared was reptilian, with golden scales and deep black eyes. This was Commander Zelnoth, who had fought the Kreth decades ago when they enslaved his people. "Admiral Harper," Zelnoth said, his voice carrying the hiss common to his species. "The Torvin remember what slavery feels like. We remember calling for help and hearing only silence. When you broadcast your message, when you said no one would be left behind, we believed you. Now we're here to stand with you." "Commander," Harper said, "you don't have to do this. This is Earth's fight." "No," Zelnoth replied firmly. "This is everyone's fight. The Kreth have ruled through fear for too long. The Council has looked away for too long. If Earth is willing to stand against that, then Torvin will stand with Earth." Similar messages came from the other volunteer ships. Each one had their own story, their own reasons for being here, but they all shared one thing in common. They were tired of being afraid. They were tired of watching evil win because no one was brave enough to fight it. The Kreth fleet continued its advance. Admiral Drexen was not impressed by the ragtag collection of civilian ships joining the humans. Merchants and old warships would not change the outcome of this battle. "All ships prepare to engage," Drexen ordered. "Target the human warships first. Once they're destroyed, the others will flee." The two fleets moved toward each other across the void. On both sides, crews prepared for battle. Weapons were charged. Shields were raised. Final checks were made. On the human destroyer Relentless, Captain Nicole Hayes addressed her crew over the internal communications. "We're about to fight the biggest battle in human history. The Kreth think they can intimidate us with numbers. They think we'll break and run when things get hard. Show them what humans do when we're outnumbered. Show them what Deathworlders are made of." Lieutenant Alex Turner sat in his fighter cockpit, part of a squadron preparing to launch from the Valiant. Alex was young, only 24, but he was one of the best pilots in the fleet. He had grown up racing aircraft in Earth's atmosphere, learning to fly in weather that would ground most alien pilots. "All fighters, prepare for launch," the flight controller ordered. "Remember your training. Stay in formation, watch each other's backs, and make every shot count." Alex and his squadron launched into space, joining hundreds of other human fighters. They formed up in attack wings, ready to dive into the enemy formation. The battle began when the Kreth opened fire at maximum range. Plasma bolts and missiles filled the space between the fleets. The human point defense systems started working immediately, shooting down incoming fire with precision that amazed the watching aliens. Then the human fleet returned fire, and the Kreth learned the same lesson their battle group had learned days before. Human weapons were different. Railguns fired physical projectiles at speeds that made them nearly impossible to dodge. Missile swarms used electronic warfare to confuse enemy defenses. And the targeting systems, developed through centuries of shooting down satellites and debris in Earth's chaotic solar system, were frighteningly accurate. The first exchange of fire saw 3 Kreth ships take serious damage while the human fleet's shields held strong. Drexen realized with growing concern that this would not be the easy victory he had expected. "All ships, close to boarding range," he ordered. "We'll take their ships the Kreth way with blade and claw." But Commander Megan Torres on the Defiant had anticipated this. She led her ship and 5 others on a straight charge into the Kreth formation, shields blazing, weapons firing continuously. It looked like suicide. It was actually brilliant. The Kreth ships focused their fire on Torres, seeing an easy kill. But her shields, powered by reactors that would terrify Council engineers, absorbed punishment that should have been impossible. And while the Kreth focused on her, the rest of the human fleet tore into their flanks. Megan's ship took hit after hit. Her hull glowed red from plasma impacts. Sections of her shield failed and reformed. Her engineering team worked frantically to keep the reactors from overloading. But she held the line, drawing fire away from more vulnerable ships. "Engineering," Megan called out. "How are we doing?" Kate Sullivan's voice came back, shouting over alarms. "Shields are at 30%. Reactor 3 is offline. We're venting atmosphere from Deck 7, and we're still advancing." "That's my girl," Megan said with a wild grin. "Keep her together just a little longer." In space around the main battle, Alex Turner and his fighter squadron engaged Kreth interceptors. The Kreth pilots were skilled and aggressive, but they had never fought humans before. They didn't understand what humans could do. Alex pulled maneuvers that would have killed most alien pilots. Turns at speeds that generated G-forces capable of crushing weaker species. Dives and climbs that took advantage of human tolerance for acceleration. His squadron moved like a pack of wolves, coordinating attacks with almost telepathic precision. "On your 6, Alex," his wingman called out. Alex rolled his fighter, came around hard, and put a missile straight into a Kreth interceptor. The enemy ship exploded in a brief flash of light. "Thanks, got him," Alex replied. "Form up. We're going for that cruiser's engines." The fighter squadron dove toward a Kreth cruiser, dodging defensive fire with reflexes honed by training in Earth's harsh environment. They released their missiles in a coordinated strike, overwhelming the cruiser's point defense. The ship's engines exploded, leaving it drifting and helpless. On the Valiant's bridge, Ryan Mitchell coordinated the overall battle. His gift for pattern recognition was working overtime, predicting enemy movements and positioning human ships to counter them. "The Kreth are trying to envelope our left flank," Ryan reported, "sending destroyers 4 through 7 to intercept." "What about their dreadnought?" Harper asked. The Eternal Conquest was still hanging back, not fully engaged. "Drexen is being cautious," Ryan said. "He's waiting to see where we're weakest before committing his flagship." "Then let's give him a target he can't resist," Harper said. "Order the Valiant forward. We're going to challenge him directly." Kate Sullivan looked up in alarm. "Sir, that's risky. The Dreadnought has more firepower than any 3 of our ships." "I know," Harper said, "but Drexen is a warrior. He won't be able to resist the chance to destroy the human admiral's flagship. When he comes for us, we'll be ready." The Valiant advanced toward the Eternal Conquest, broadcasting a direct challenge on all frequencies. Drexen saw it immediately and felt his warrior's pride flare. "He dares challenge me directly," Drexen growled. "All ships cover my advance. I'm going to destroy that impudent Deathworlder myself." The 2 flagships moved toward each other while the battle raged around them. They were both massive ships, designed to dominate space battles, but they represented completely different philosophies of warfare. The Eternal Conquest was built for glory, for visible displays of power. It had decorative elements, sections designed more for intimidation than function. The Kreth believed war was about dominance and display. The Valiant was built for one thing only: to win. Every system was functional. Every weapon had been tested in the harshest conditions humans could create. There was no decoration, no waste. It was a machine designed by people who had learned warfare through thousands of years of brutal history. The two ships opened fire on each other at close range. The Eternal Conquest's plasma cannons scored direct hits on the Valiant's shields, causing them to flare and buckle. But Harper's ship returned fire with railguns and missiles, targeting specific weak points Ryan had identified in the Dreadnought's design. The bridge of the Valiant shook with impacts. Sparks flew from consoles. The lights flickered. But the crew held their positions, kept fighting, kept firing. "Shields at 40%, Ryan reported. But the Kreth Dreadnought is taking serious damage. Their port side armor is failing. "All weapons, concentrate fire on that weak point," Harper ordered. The Valiant's guns focused on the damaged section of the Eternal Conquest's hull. Railgun rounds punched through compromised armor, missiles exploited the breach, and then a lucky shot hit something critical. The Kreth Dreadnought's reactor went critical. Emergency systems failed. Sections of the massive ship began exploding from internal damage. Drexen, watching his flagship die around him, made a final decision. He ordered evacuation pods launched, saving his crew, then stood on his bridge as explosions consumed it. The Eternal Conquest broke apart in a massive explosion that lit up the battle space. The rest of the Kreth fleet saw their admiral's flagship destroyed and their morale shattered. Some ships tried to keep fighting, others attempted to flee. The human fleet, supported by their alien allies, systematically disabled or destroyed those that remained hostile. 2 hours after the battle started, it was over. The Kreth fleet was defeated. 15 of their ships were destroyed. 20 had surrendered. Only 2 managed to escape into faster-than-light travel. Harper stood on the bridge of the damaged but victorious Valiant, looking at the tactical display. Around him, his crew was exhausted but alive. The ship had taken terrible damage. Several decks were vented to space. The reactor was running at minimum power. But they had won. "Casualty reports?" Harper asked quietly. Ryan's voice was heavy. The destroyer Courage was lost with all hands. 237 crew. The cruiser Defiant took critical damage and is evacuating. Multiple other ships have casualties. Current total is 412 dead, over 1,000 wounded. Harper closed his eyes for a moment. 412 humans had died here today, defending people they barely knew, but they had saved thousands, and they had changed the galaxy. "What about our allies?" Harper asked. "The Torvin lost one of their old battleships. The Velnari had 3 merchant ships destroyed. Total Allied casualties around 200. The battle had been costly, but it had been won. And more importantly, it had been won together. Humans and aliens fighting side by side. On Kelrath 7's surface, Elder Velkara watched the orbital battle's conclusion on her communication screen. She saw human ships damaged but triumphant. She saw the mixed fleet of humans and aliens holding the space above her world. She understood what this meant. This was the beginning of something new. An alliance built not on politics or profit, but on the simple idea that protecting the innocent mattered more than power. 3 days later, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. The chamber was filled with representatives from hundreds of species, all arguing about what to do about Earth and the Battle of Kelrath 7. Ambassador Thelnax spoke for the faction that wanted humanity expelled and sanctioned. They violated council law. They started a war without authorization. They must be punished. But other voices spoke up. The Velnari representative, Elder Velkara herself, addressed the council. "Humanity saved my people when you would not. They risked everything for us. I stand with Earth." The Torvin representative agreed. "For too long, this council has allowed evil to flourish because it was politically convenient. Earth has shown us a better way. Torvin stands with Earth." One by one, smaller species stood and declared their support. They were the ones who had suffered in silence while the council debated. They were the ones who understood what Earth's actions really meant. The vote was contentious, argued for hours, but in the end, a resolution passed. Earth would not be expelled. Instead, they would be granted a permanent council seat with full military rights. The resolution was called the Kelrath Accord. Earth's new ambassador, Kevin Price, stood to accept. He was a career diplomat, someone who understood both human values and galactic politics. "The Galactic Council has made a wise decision today," Kevin said. "Earth seeks no empire. We claim no territory beyond our own. But we will answer when innocents call for help. We will stand with those who have no one else. This is our promise to the galaxy." He paused, looking around the chamber. "Some of you fear us because we are from a death world, because we are strong and willing to fight. But understand this, our strength exists to protect, not to conquer. Our willingness to fight exists to defend, not to attack. Judge us not by your fears, but by our actions." The speech was broadcast across the galaxy. On thousands of worlds, beings who had lived in fear for generations heard it and felt something they hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. On Kelrath 7, reconstruction continued. Human engineers worked alongside Velnari workers, rebuilding what had been destroyed. Human Marines patrolled the streets, not as conquerors, but as protectors. And in the schools, Velnari children learned about the day the Deathworlders came to save them. Elder Velkara stood with Admiral Harper in the colony's central plaza, watching the work. The Admiral was preparing to return to Earth, where he would face questions about his actions, praise for his victory, and responsibilities for what came next. "What you did here changed everything," Velkara said. "The galaxy will never be the same." "I hope you're right," Harper replied. "But the real test comes now. We proved we could fight. Now we have to prove we can build something better than what existed before." "You will," Velkara said with certainty, "because you understand something the Council forgot. Civilization is not about power or profit. It is about protecting those who cannot protect themselves." Harper looked up at the sky, where the damaged but proud human fleet still maintained orbit. "No one left behind," he said quietly. "That's the promise we made. That's the promise we'll keep." Across the galaxy, in small colonies and settlements, beings who had been victims began organizing. They sent messages to Earth, asking for help, offering friendship, proposing alliances. The Deathworlders had shown them a different way was possible. And on Earth itself, in government chambers and military academies, leaders understood they had just taken on a responsibility that would define humanity's future in the stars. They had promised to protect the innocent, to answer distress calls, to stand against evil even when it was difficult. It was a promise that would be tested again and again in the years to come. But it was a promise humanity was determined to keep, because they were Deathworlders, and Deathworlders didn't abandon their friends. The stars would never be the same. "You think other species will actually come?" Ryan asked skeptically. Harper looked out at the stars. "I don't know. But I know we're going to find out. We just changed the rules of the galaxy. Now we'll see if anyone else wants to play by new rules." On Kelrath 7's surface, Elder Velkara watched human soldiers helping rebuild damaged structures. She had heard Harper's broadcast. She understood what it meant. Humanity had just painted a target on themselves, made enemies of some of the galaxy's most powerful forces, and they had done it to protect her people. She looked up at the human warships in orbit and made a decision. The Velnari would stand with Earth. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The message had been sent. Now the galaxy would respond. They had come across the stars to save people they barely knew. Jake Morrison found Velkara in the crowd. The elder recognized him immediately. "Captain Morrison," she said, her voice shaking with emotion. "You came. The Council abandoned us, but you came. We got your distress call. Jake said simply. "We couldn't just ignore it. You're our friends." Velkara looked up at the sky, where human warships hung in orbit like guardian angels. "The galaxy will never be the same after this," she said softly. Jake followed her gaze. "No," he agreed. "It won't." One by one, the captains reported in. Every ship was ready. Every crew was prepared. The Third Fleet was going to war. "Navigation. Set course for Kelrath 7. All ships will jump in formation. Time to arrival, 4 hours. Weapons free on arrival. Show no mercy to slavers." The fleet's jump drives powered up, creating distortions in space that would have been visible for light years if anyone was watching. But out here, between the stars, there was no one to see. "Jump in 3, 2, 1, execute." 12 human warships vanished from normal space, diving into faster-than-light travel. They were heading for battle, for blood, for justice. And 4 light years away, the Kreth had no idea what was coming for them. "This is the human cruiser Endeavor. We received your distress call, Kelrath 7. We are coming. Hold on. Help is on the way." 4 light years away, in the dark underground shelters of Kelrath 7, Elder Velkara heard the message on her emergency receiver. She had almost given up hope. The Kreth were hunting her people, dragging them away in chains. Children were crying. Adults were dying. The council had abandoned them. But now, impossibly, the humans were coming. Velkara remembered something Captain Morrison had told her during his visit, a human saying that had puzzled her at the time. Now she understood it perfectly. No one left behind. The Deathworlders kept their promises.